Ja, du guten Tag, guten Tag. Heute gibt es nochmal oder immer noch oder es geht weiter mit Shoot Order. Genau, wir waren bei der dritten Route. Ich gehe mal davon aus, dass wir relativ kurz vom Ende sind hier. Wieso hat er denn oben angefangen? Sag mal, ist hier irgendwas, läuft hier irgendwas falsch? Okay. Warum geht der denn immer nach oben? He's close. Okay, dann muss ich hier weitermachen. Yes. Thanks to the revived Adale, the shutdown of Yata was soon avoided. Ray returned to the surface to regain memories. Okay, okay, okay.
それじゃあ、あられちゃん、私は地上に戻るけど、本当に一人で大丈夫？
わっちなら大丈夫だから、お前は早く地上に急ぐなり。お前が記憶を取り戻せるか否かに、世界の命運がかかっているなりよ。
絶対に思い出してみせるからね。ヤタの再起動コードを。
I leave Adale and run back to Area 8 as fast as I can. I tried calling out to them, but the angels don't appear. I thought they did, but then... I thought they did, but they then disappeared. Once they disappear, I don't know when they'll reappear. I'm annoyed at the inconsistency. After saying this, I put the unlock key into the panel on the east wall of Area 8. Then... Inside the satellite room, there are two vehicles, which look like medicine capsules lined up. I open the lid and enter the pod. A sound like a startup beep. Yeah. The pod starts moving by itself. It jumps into the Area 8C. Das war's? Wieso wird das einfach abgebrochen? Sonst geht das doch weiter. Rumble so tut. Rumble so tut. Rumble so tut. I step out of the escape pod. I'm now at the lake, surrounded by a forest. I've managed to reach shore, but... I know it's around here, but... I thought I lost sight of you underground. To think you were already at the surface. Without being told anything, we start running. I force my exhausted body to run through the forest. Pure Land has been wiped out. Now I can remember. Now, if I can remember the reboot code for Yata, it'll be our victory. As I thought, I probably won't get my memories back before coming back to life. True, things are looking bleak, but we can't give up. You just have to trust in the blessing of God and tickle Ion's brain and run. I dive into the entrance of Ryugu and run up the spiral staircase.
もう少しだよ。
Our battle, which pushed us deeper and deeper underground, is now on the surface. Finally, the end is in sight.
遅くなりました。
Without knocking, I jump right into the lab, only to find an unexpected scene. Someone who appears to be Teku Ion is asleep in bed. He's wearing what appears to be a helmet.
ちょっとテコさん、こんな時に眠ってる場合じゃないですよ。
I try to shake Teku Ion awake, yet he stays asleep.
私の記憶を復活させてくれるんでしょ。あなたが来いって言うからここまで。
A sharp sound echoes through the air. The next moment, I feel a terrible pain in my chest. The strength drains from my body. I can't stand up anymore. I feel myself blacking out. What? In my fading consciousness, I looked frantically around, trying to see what happened. Then... Who's that? It came up. A masked girl?
イオンテコと共に世界を救うのは私。あなたではないわ。
Ah, das ist die Dingens. Dr. Is irgendwas. That is the last thing I hear as the darkness swallows me up. I can't hear any more. To avoid this ending, Ray needs to know about the existence of a certain person. The character who knows them well is... What? Cool. Basic recursion decided to stay underground is sort of... Oder? Die Kuh kennt die doch. Okay, okay.
どう
そんなこったら姉さんの力やっぱ生き絵のか
クーク
こんな時まで俺は恐竜にエリア5のホタル綺麗だ
Pass my last words to Professor Ezaki.
なあレイさんもしもこの先大月クーは元気に冒険を楽しんでたってさ
江崎博士。その人はもう死んでるはずじゃ。
Oh yeah, I forgot that's what the word
江崎
thinks.
博士は生きてるぜ
生きてる。
死を偽装したんだよその方が何かと動きやすいみたい
じゃあテコさんは騙されてるってこと？
ああ江崎博士も天才だからな俺が竜宮に働きに来たのはさイオン所長の横っ面引っ叩いて意地張ってねえで早くダチを迎えに行きやがれってな
But it was just a dream for a grunt like me to talk with Director Eon. I never got the
江
chance.
崎博士はずっとイオン所長が迎えに来るの
出てる？
天才なんて案外そんなもんなんじゃねえの
Being able to build a whole underground world, but in some ways they're the same as us. You'll get it if you talk to them. You can overcome hatred and reach an understanding.
僕に犯罪者と侮られ仲間を無残に殺されながらそれでも異教徒の追跡に尽くした君の貢献
Hearing those words from him made me so happy. He recognized me, a criminal. Thanks to him, I can die a man. Look at me, Arale. I won't run. You ran right into the flames without backing down. How could I run away? This time I'm not running. This time I'll protect him. Protect Ray's future, that's... Ja, das ist ja das gleiche wie vorher auch. Ja. Yes, yes, yes. Jetzt habe ich hier 2 neue. Okay. Mach ich hier weiter. The reboot code for Yata was stored in the founder's memory. Teko asked the living SHUTEN for help. The input code screen is not what I expected. Just a simple input bar with space of 10 characters. Ich glaube, das... Ja, okay, das hatten wir auch alles.
ドクター江崎は生きてます。
What MC said. I could hardly believe it. Ezaki is alive?
違うんです。本当に生きているんです。監獄で今も健在だってクー君がそれを教えてくれたんです。
死ぬ直前じゃあ
クー君はエリア8で
Ray speaks with a trembling voice about Ku's last moments. So Ku Otsuki is dead. He was a convict in a jumpsuit, but loyal and sincere to Ray. Someone with a strong sense of honor like Ku wouldn't lie in his final moments. I know what I need to do. I have to face my past sins. I must sincerely apologize to Ezaki and somehow secure her cooperation. I end the call and quickly get ready to leave. Now, it's my turn to go on an adventure, just like Arale, to reclaim what I lost in the past. Mit einem fucking hoverboard. I rush out the lab, heading for the prison. Das dürfte jetzt fast alles dasselbe sein, ne?
それじゃあ、あられちゃん。私は地上に、やっぱり私も地下に残って。
ワッチなら心配が重いようなり、それよりお前は早く地上で治療を受けるべきなり。両手に親うっすら覚えているなりよ。お前に
これくらい平気だよ。ほら、普通に動くし。
I couldn't tough it out. Honestly, both my hands have gone numb. No, not just my hands. I'm going numb all over. If I'm not careful, I could lose consciousness. I wonder if Arale remembers. Ku boldly confronted the shark. A scene of sinking into the sea. I force my badly burnt hand into a fist and we do a fist bump. That moment I feel a strange power welling up inside me. I'm sure we can save the world. I'm certain of that. With Arale cheering me on, I ran to the surface. I ran through Area 9, straight to Area 8. I tried calling out to them, but the angels don't appear. I thought they did, but then they disappeared. Das ist gleich wie eben. Once they disappear, I don't know when they reappear. I'm annoyed at the inconsistency. After saying this, I put the unlock key into the panel in the east wall of Area 8, then... In the satellite room there are 2 vehicles which look like medicine capsules lined up. I open the lid and enter the pod. A sound like a startup beep. Ja, ich gehe mal davon aus, dass es nichts Neues ist. Boom boom, my trusty machine roars like a lion. Brap. Knowing the danger, I turn on the boost, working through the forest at top speed. I'm heading to SHUTEN's largest prison, the End. A place where major criminals who commit heinous crimes end up. Yugu and the prison aren't all too far apart. If I push my machine, I can get there in about an hour. Even 1 minute, 1 second faster, and... To overcome this crisis, I need Dr. Ezaki's help. A rare genius, the greatest neuroscientist in history. A former wing of Ryu that I once clipped myself. I need to give her a piece of my mind. With that thought, I rev my engine to the max. A sudden thought came to my mind. The image of Ray controlling Rex flashes through my mind. It was only a few hours ago, but it felt strangely nostalgic. But I never thought I'd be the one running around outside. I let my thoughts wander and then... Prison. I've made it to the end. Officially, it's said to be under the Ministry of Security, however, in reality it's mostly an independent facility. They've been in conflict with the Ministry of Security for years. Or that's what the warden says, at least. The argument isn't without merit. The peace of the SHUTEN order is maintained precisely because the prison strictly manages these heinous criminals. But ist das so? Was, wenn ihr die einfach umbringen würdet, dann hätten die nichts zu tun und dann... Will make them pay for faking Ezaki's death. I shouted as soon as I entered the warden's office. The warden desperately tries to cover up Ezaki's existence. He produces a death certificate and autopsy report, stubbornly clinging to his lies. The audacity to present falsified records to me, how bold. If that's what you're going with.
簡素だよ。僕の特製のドローンで。
なんと野蛮な。
蛮行？違うな。
I can use my superior technology to expose the truth. That's the true essence of science.
何もやましいことがないのなら、君の PC から吸い出したこのデータを不死鳥卍の端末に送る。
Mentioning the Ministry of Security stopdog makes the warden's face pale instantly. Known as the Queen of Heretic Hunters, she won't stop once she set her sights. She disregards political power dynamics, hunting down heretics and anyone suspected of being involved to the ends of the earth for execution.
しかしもし君が僕を江崎と引き合わせてくれるの、このドローンを君にプレゼントしてやってもいい。
Hearing this, the warden gives up and sighs.
わかりました。面会室でお待ちください。
The visitation room is divided by reinforced glass. Dr. Ezaki is not yet on the other side. Apparently, Ezaki was out and would soon return to the prison.
囚人が外出だって。
How absurd. Despite being a prisoner, Dr. Ezaki seems to have obtained freedom akin to a normal person. It's not great to be kept waiting in this urgent situation, but there's no use in rushing. If Ezaki turns stubborn, that's the end. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Time passes, slowly but quickly. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, as my impatience reaches its peak. A long-haired, slender girl enters the room. Despite being a prisoner, she walks in with the dignity of a noble. She shows no remorse despite making me wait so long. I face her across the glass.
ドクター江崎。いや、江崎セレン。
フェーズ5、イオンテコとの再会。思ったより遅かったわね。
She doesn't seem surprised at all despite my sudden appearance. Seren Ezaki, commonly known as Dr. Ezaki, a genius neuroscientist and my former research partner. Until a few years ago, she served as the deputy director of Ryuru. She went to prison after I reported her. I was informed she had died in prison, but she looks perfectly healthy.
担当直入に言う。江崎、今すぐ竜宮に来てくれ。君の力を借りたい。
嫌よ。
どうしても君の力がいる。今この国は存亡の危機に陥っている。
嫌よ。
This is what it means to be stonewalled.
君のことだ。すでに状況は理解しているんだろう。
教祖様の死については聞き及んでいるわ。私の技術で何らかのデータを教祖様の脳から引き出したいのでしょう。
天才は健在のようだね。
No need for explanations with Ezaki. She can deduce the truth from the smallest crumbs of
あなたが
information.
ここに来るということは、ヤタに異常でも発生したのかしら。脳から取り出したいのは再起動コード。
そこまで分かっているなら速やかに協力してくれ。ヤタが止まれば君だって死ぬんだぞ。
協力は無理よ。だって私はあなたに恩がないもの。
そう来ると思ったよ。
Ezaki's actions are governed by a strict principle of zero debt. If she owes someone, she repays that debt. If someone owes her, she collects. No exceptions.
もしも協力してくれるなら、君の恩赦を警備省に掛け合うこと。
却下。約束手形は交渉材料にはな。
頼む。なんなら恩赦の誓約書を書いて警備省と法務省から印をもらって正式な法的効力を持たせるから。
仮にここにアルミニウムがあるとするわね。
Ezaki begins a sudden analogy.
アルミニウムさん、アルミニウムさん。後であなたに水酸化ナトリウムをそう約束すれば、アルミニウムは溶け出すのかしら。
A silly analogy, but the point is clear. If I want to change her stance, I need to offer something concrete, not promises. To dissolve the mysterious metal that is set in Ezaki, I offer information.
情報が欲しくないか。僕の最新の研
私の研究分野に。
なら金をやろう。 僕の全財産を今すぐ。
お金なら有り余っているの。
Damn, I can't figure out what she wants. What must I offer for her to cooperate? I don't know. I hardly know anything about Izaki. We were research partners, but not very close. Think. What does Seren Izaki desire? How can I break through? It felt like I was praying. Me, who hasn't an ounce of faith, was desperate for some revelation to get out of this predicament. What should I do? Founder, tell me, please. Blessed be the SHUTEN order. Blessed be. You can now start Seren Izaki's story. Seren Izaki lived a life of glory. Since childhood, she's been a multi-talented prodigy, especially gifted in science. Her genius was renowned throughout SHUTEN. In time, the brilliant child was scouted by Tag5, the all-knowing prodigy himself. Her post? Ryugu, the largest biolab in history, where she was made vice director. There, with her genius, she developed a nerve chip. A device constraining a mind of an animal and swapping it with a different one. This groundbreaking invention reinforced her position in the world of science. Her fame rose to unparalleled heights. However, one day it all came crashing down. Seren was arrested and put in jail. In a single night, she lost everything. Seren found herself in prison. She was kept in isolation, bound in chains. Treated as a slave would be in the distant past. All other prisoners wondered what had happened. What kind of crime had Seren Izaki committed? But they couldn't find the answer. Any contact with Seren Izaki was strictly prohibited. If anyone got close to her isolation cell, they would be shot without warning the moment they took one step too far. Seren was being kept in a catatonic state between life and death, like a plant. But she was pretty optimistic, so Seren kept an accurate record of seconds of her imprisonment. 18 million seconds, approximately 7 months. Roughly this much seconds left until my limit. She even knew how much time she had left until the end of her life. No matter how drugged she was, she could survive here only about half a year longer. Bereft of a chance to show her talent, she intended to end her short life. However, she wasn't grieving over her current condition. Counting seconds was all she was able to do. And so she did. But that was it. Day after day, Seren kept counting. In one night, exactly a year after her imprisonment, a sign of change appeared in her solitary cell.
知恵を貸してくれよ。
Seren Ezaki was a famous genius. She might be helpful during a prison break. The woman sneaked into Seren's cell without being seen by the guards.
フェーズ1、囚人の来訪。想定よりも早かったわね。
は？フェイズ？
ねえ、あなたはなぜここから出たいの？
どうしてって決まってんだろう。ここにいたら殺される
This
から。
was the largest jail in Shuten, the infamous The End. No one's ever left it alive. Primarily, violence and murder were forbidden by the precepts of Shuten order. But as an exception, the Ministry of Security and such were allowed to use force. The prison guards could do to felons whatever they pleased. Deaths by accident were common.
殺されんなら一か八か脱獄したいんだよ。
わずかな期待にかけるその心理は理解できるわ。私にすがる判断も悪くない。
ああ、どう考えてもあんたしかいねえんだ。頼む。
The prisoner was pleading with her. However,
いいえ、知恵は貸せないわ。
なんでだよ。
私はあなたに恩がないもの。あなたのために私
脱獄に成功した。
約束手形は交渉、未来を担保するのではなく、
んなこと言われても
あるじゃない。生きとし生ける者にとって。
重い価値。なんだよそれ。
the prisoner tilted her head, but she never came to the answer. Rip. A dry sound echoed through the prison. Blood gushed out of the convict's chest. She fell face down, never to move again.
人目を盗んで独房に近づくとはな。すば手間かけさせんじゃねえよ、カスが。
The guard spat on the dead woman's body and stomped on it with disdain. The corners of his lips were curled up in a sadistic smile.
おい江崎、他の囚人に妙な知恵吹き込んだりするんじゃねえ。
The prison guard warned Seren through the iron railing.
天才とはいえその状態じゃ何も。
返しなさい。
あ？返す？
あなた今この囚人から命を奪ったでしょ。単純な貸し借りも理解できない。
When you take something, you need to offer something of the same value. It was Seren's creed to keep everything in equilibrium.
ご忠告どうも。そこまで言うなら返してやる。の顔に拳をな。
The enraged guard opened the cell's lock and entered. His clenched fist rose. With this, the prison guard, satisfied with his assault on Seren, left. Having lost the last of her dignity, the girl lay on the floor like an old rag. Then,
その分奪い返したから、イーブンパーね。
between Seren's toes was a small tablet. Kinky. She had swiftly snatched the device that was dangling at the guard's hip.
でも、足で操作するのはお行儀が悪いわね。
She strained her muscles a bit and broke the chains shackling her hands. No, she didn't have monstrous power. Using her mouth, she systematically separated salt. Contained in the IV drug, she had spat it on the chains every day. Continuously exposed to salty water, the iron weakened. This was called deliquescence, I guess. First, Seren accessed footage from surveillance cameras in the building. Then she started investigating the building's supplies.
縄、紐、マッチ、シーツ、今時の監獄って何でもあるのね。ありがとう。あなたのおかげで私、自由の身になることができそうよ。
She spoke to the silent corpse, but she wasn't satisfied.
自由をくれたあなたには最高の恩返しをしなくてはならないわ。お礼にここから解放してあげるから。一人残らず全員ね。
This day, the most notorious criminal in the history of SHUTEN silently escaped from jail. She escaped to finish the job she had left outside the bars of the cell.
$216番のデコに銃口を突きつけて、なんか面白いことやれっつったらつまんねえから、つい手が滑っちゃって。うわ、お前ら今月何人やったよ。俺5人。俺8。やりすぎだろお前ら。ちなみに俺はお前が一番やってんじゃねえか。
Prison guards were enjoying the liquor during their day shift. They always liked talking about recently killed people over a bottle of booze. According to the SHUTEN Order's doctrine, violence was a serious crime. But in a way of exception, the Ministry of Security and such were allowed to use force.
最近打ち足りねえな。お、後でハント行く？いいね。全員で勝負しようぜ。囚人番号がそのままポイント数ね。
Power deprived them of their morals long ago. Murder was but a pastime for them. They were convinced that their rule would last forever, until this day. Even the sound of the alarm couldn't sober them up. This rebellion must be some trivial thing anyway. They put up their guard, but at that point they were still calm. Their pride as the hunters gave them courage. They could suppress the revolt in no time. The window above their heads broke and in flew a missile-like object. Missiles kept flying in. The enemy was nowhere to be seen. They couldn't fire back. Upon examining the missiles, they realized they were just plastic bottles. The furious prison guards tried to counterattack. As they did, smoke started billowing out from the bottles. They grew dizzy. Then came shivers and nausea. They couldn't keep their eyes open. Smoke filled the room. And the prison guards lost consciousness. They were subdued in a few seconds. When they came to, they were surrounded by cons aiming their crude guns made of pipes and string in the middle of the crowd. There stood the greatest prodigy in the entire history of the SHUTEN Order.
銃なんて作れるはずが。
みんな銃の威力をお見せして。せーの、3、はい。
The prisoners fired their arms at once. It almost sounded like a signal. Those vicious inmates were following Seren's orders like loyal dogs.
銃がどうして勢いよく弾丸を発射できるかわかる？雷管内部の火薬が燃焼を開始すると、こっちは水素ロケット。水を薬剤保管庫にクエン酸があったから。そうそう、あなたたちの意識を奪った資材倉庫にニッケルがあったから CO と触れさせて。
Seren explained the construction of her weapons like a school teacher. The prison guards gasped. They had severe regrets. They should have killed this monster. But she used to be close with the leader of the Ministry of Science. Had they gotten rid of her, they could have fallen in disgrace with the Ministry. They kept her alive for political reasons, but it seems like that was a serious mistake. The man asked, trying to sound brave.
聞きたいのはこちらの方よ。なぜあなたたちは私たち。
それが私たちの仕事だからだ。
確かに私たち犯罪者は抑圧され。
そうだ。貴様らは何をされても。
でもね、あなたたちは奪いすぎなの。かつて罪人は殺されて当然捕らえられた罪人は広場に連れ出され、囚人監視の中、処刑人に命を奪われていたの。
Seren suddenly started telling a story, like a professor at the podium.
近代以降、処刑は徐々に姿を、すなわち監獄よ。犯罪者は自由を差し出すことで監獄内で生きる権利を手に入れた。あなたたちは自由と命、二つのものを私たちから奪い取っているの。これ返してもらうわ。私たちから奪いすぎた分を。
私たちをどう。
命だけは助けてあげる。私たちが自由であると。
自由になりたいのなら勝手に脱獄しろ。
いいえ、手続きは大切よ。あなたの口から宣誓していただかないと。さあ言いなさい。あなたの口で。
And so he pronounced the criminals free people. There could be no greater humiliation for the prison warden, but he had no choice.
お前らは自由。
His declaration took the prisoners' breath away. They couldn't believe the scene that just played in front of their eyes. The abused felons fought the warden himself into submission.
よくできました。フェーズ2、革命は。さあみんな、勝ち時をあげましょう。
At Seren's signal, the room exploded with joyful shouts from the convicts.
マジかよ。
監獄を陥落させちまったぜ。私たち。
自由だ。
早く出ようぜ。外。いや待て、その前に。
セレンさん。
ありがとう。
あんたは俺たちの救世主だぜ。
なあ、次は何をすればいい？
A new belief began to sprout. This masked girl brought them salvation. She was their messiah. Anything would go well should they follow her. If she led the way, they... Suddenly...
動くな。
The happiness was brief. The prisoners were surrounded by corps that had suddenly raided the facility. It was the Ministry of Security. They had the strongest army corps at their disposal to protect order in SHUTEN.
警備所。
やべえよ、殺される。
Why did they come here? The convicts were confused. Seren said that they didn't come to the prison at all.
監獄は警備省の 下部組織監獄は決して警備省を頼らないし、警備省も監獄を助け
Still, they were here. Could Zed and Ezaki be wrong? The prisoners were shaken.
セレンさん、
Still, they had no choice but to follow her. Everything would be alright. Zed was a genius after all. She surely could overturn even such a hopeless situation. But then... something rather unexpected happened.
お久しぶりです、江崎博士。囚人放棄の通報、心より感謝いたします。
いいえ、こちらこそありがとう。最高のタイミングだったわ。
The leader was talking to a man who seemed to be the ministry's officer.
はい。これが約束の品よ。監獄がロンダリングに使っている。
おお、これは。まったく嘆かわしい。極超閣下、いけませんな。なんだ貴様、出て行け。ここは監獄だぞ。おや、そのような態度をとってよろしいのですか。このリストが明るみに出ても。脅すつもりか。いいえ、これは単なる忠告です。下部組織は下部組織、態度次第では私のところでこの資料を握りつぶ。
They thought that the ministry would take control, but it didn't look like it.
セレンさん、これは。
警備省の知り合いに頼まれたの。監獄の不正の証拠を掴んでほしいって。
頼まれた。
でも、さすがに監獄の警備は厳重ね。騒ぎを起こし、警備に隙を作る必要があったの。
私たちを焚きつけたってわけかよ。
The prisoners became acutely aware of Saren's ulterior motive. She gave them weapons to rebel with and used the commotion to sneak into the archives. And she only secured her own safety.
あんた、俺たちを利用したのか。
利用した。そのような見方もできなくはないわ。
ざけんな。
They moved to grab Saren, but were stopped just in time. The army's guns were aimed right at them. Resistance would be pointless. If they wanted to live, all they could do was raise their hands. Their brief dream had ended. The prisoners were taken back to their cells. The sound of locking cell doors echoed throughout the building.
畜生、もう少しだったのによ。なあ、俺たちこれからどうなんだ。
決まってんだろ。処刑だよ。
The prisoners pondered quietly in their locked cells. With their shoulders slumped, they could only wait for death. Death on its own wouldn't even be that bad, but something much worse could happen. It was too much.
さっきの野郎。よくも私たちを利用しやがって。
見事に利用されちまったな。
最初からおかしいと思ってたんだよ。俺はどうせ殺されんなら江崎を道連れにしてやりてえ。道連れなんて無理に決まってんだろ。あいつ。
いいえ、私はどこにも行かないわ。
They looked up to see Saren in front of their cells.
なんだよ、俺たちを笑いに来たのか。
この悪魔。
処刑されたらてめえを呪う。どんな手使ってもお前だけは。
Although just moments ago they proclaimed her a messiah, she was now their devil. She didn't even frown.
牢屋越しに話していても仕方がないわ。まずはみんな。
はあ。
She produced a ring of keys from her pocket. Surely the prison guards just had them. Saren opened the cells of the dumbfounded prisoners, one after another. She didn't look down on them. She was completely unfazed. The released prisoners stared at her in a daze.
あんた、一体何なんだよ。
なんだとは。
私たちのことは
あなたたちが私に見当違いの期待をしていただけよ。私にどうして欲しかったの？
そりゃもちろん俺たち。
もしもあなたたちが監獄の外に逃げていたら、警備省から追っ手がかかってすぐに殺
いやでも
だいたい外に出てどうするつもりだったの？
They were focused on breaking free so badly that the thought hadn't crossed their minds.
過度な自由は身を滅ぼすわ。奪いすぎてはいけないの。
でもよ、監獄にいたってどうせ殺されるじゃねえか。だったらいっそ。
いいえ、今後あなたたちが監獄内で不当に殺されることはほら。お金を稼いで立場を得れば、あなたたちが不当に虐げられることはなくなるわ。
On the prison wall, she projected a plan of a business venture.
起業をスタートしましょう。
She envisioned a temp employment agency. The prisoners would be sent to plants and such to work as laborers and drivers. If they paid their wages to the prison or the ministry, they wouldn't be killed anymore. However,
俺たちの使いなさなめ。
稼げるやつが犯罪者になるわけねえだろ。
額がねえんだ、私たち。
ついでにスキルもね。
俺なんて足し算もできないぜ。
it's bad. Bruce dappered. They were useless. Such useless scum could never make money. Long-term imprisonment caused them to believe they were failures. That and still didn't give up on them.
いいえ、あなたたちは決して無能ではないわ。さあ、これをかぶって。
She took out full-face helmets.
なんでヘルメット？
これかぶって働けってか？
さすがにヘルメットでその気になるほど。
They were unamused, showing no interest toward the headwear.
だいたいよ、俺たちは労働に向いてねえんだわ。
ああ、いくら金稼ぐためとはいえ、へこへこ頭下げたりなんて。
こんな出声で客に媚び売るとか。
つうわけだからよ、セレンさん。俺たちを働かそうと。
働くくらいなら死んだ方がマシだぜ。
私たちは
俺たちは絶対働かねえからな。
2 months later.
はい、先日はどうもごちそうさま。ご制約ですか？すぐに書類を送らせていただきますね。はい
弊社に受注させてください。必ずや期待に応えてご覧に入れます。お願いします。
それじゃあ今日も元気に現場行ってきます。
The conditions in prison changed drastically. The convicts rented a room in prison to have an office. They worked day and night. Typically, a prisoner cannot leave the premises, but they received repentance labor permits, allowing them to go outside. Prison Temp wasn't a typical agency, it was a group of specialized professionals. That's what was written on their homepage. Extra large vehicle driver, unique construction designer, dangerous goods manager. There are only a few such specialists in the world. Prison Temp responded to demand, it developed rapidly, and its CEO was...
社長、業績は順調に推移。この分なら警備省への上納金は借り入れなしで支払うことが可能。
油断してはダメよ。そろそろ競合他社が嫉妬して妨害工作を仕掛けてくる頃合いだから、そうなる前に手を打つの。警備省の OB をトラブルシュ。
はい、すぐにリストアップを進めます。
それから法務省の独占禁止委員会の皆様に賄賂を。そろそろ調査が入るはずだから。
Saturn, the CEO had talent to sense danger. That was the key to the company's rapid growth.
社長はどうして先のことがわかるのでしょう。
私が見ているのは未来ではなく
あ摂理
一つ得れば一つ失う、一つ失えば一つ得る。
That's why.
せっかく手にしたものを奪われたくなかったらあらかじめ差し出さなくてはいけないわ。
Seven was very careful about sharing gains, so that they didn't gain too much alone. They didn't want to oppose the laws, otherwise there would be punishment. She knew that from her own experience. But it would be pointless to care only about it. Evil sometimes comes like a catastrophe.
なあ、どう思うよ。どうって何がだよ。
決まってんだろ。あのカスどもの会社だよ。収監中の犯罪者が会社を起こして大儲け。いやもうそれだ。
ああ、犯罪者が幅利かせるようになったらこの国はおしまいだぜ。
大体よ、あいつらがスペシャリストとしてもてはやされるなんてよ。
What even constitutes a company? They used to be trash, prey.
絶対何かからくりがあるはずだぜ。
みんな騙されてる気も
こりゃ詐欺だぜ。
許せねえよな。
正義のためにあいつらをぶっ潰してやんねえと。
In other words, it was envy. They couldn't bear the thought that people they detested were successful.
あいつらを殺しちまったら高い酒が飲めなくなっちまうんだよな。
Prison guards were getting a lot of donations from Saren's company. Consequently, the standard of their lives greatly improved. They could buy quality liquor.
どうすりゃいいんだ。
Still, they couldn't bear it. It would be a pity to lose their cash flow, pride or money. After thinking it through, they came to a conclusion.
江崎、お前の会社を俺たちに譲渡しろ。
They could simply take over the company. That was the conclusion they
そん
came
な
to.
に会社が欲しいならあげてもいいわ。
Saren agreed to the transfer of the company with surprising ease.
賢明じゃねえか。さすが天才。
それじゃあ早速
それであなたたちは何を差し出すの？
ああ、差し出す。
当然でしょ。奪うのならその分何かを返さなくてはいけないわ。
もったいぶってんじゃねえよ。どうせ詐欺みたいなやり口。
詐欺？いいえ、うちの会社を大きくしたのは囚人のまっとうな努力。あの子たちは立派よ。放棄して働いて、それに比べて本当に何もないのね、あなたたちって。省庁に就職できず仕方なく監獄に勤め、せめて真面目に働けばいいものを本当にないない尽くし、哀れね。
Everything she said was true. They didn't want to hear it. And the prisoners.
おい、よせ。
見下すんじゃねえ。
よせ。
Saren had connections in the Ministry of Security. They couldn't get rid of her. Despite knowing that, the man couldn't control himself. Enraged, he shot his gun. And when he calmed down... Saren's body was riddled with bullets. She wasn't breathing. RIP.
お前何してんだよ。江崎を殺すのはまずいってあれほど。
こいつが悪いんだ。
いいから早く逃げるぞ。見つかったらまずい。
The guards dashed out of the room. It's fine. She was a prisoner to begin with. They only killed an inmate. What's the big deal? They opened the door to see Saren, who whose dead body they had just left behind.
なんで生きて。
お腹に風穴が開いてしまったわ。ねえ、返して。
返す。
あなたの撃った銃弾でずいぶん血肉を失ったわ。だから奪ったものは返さなくてはいけないのよ。
The bloody demon raised her hands and drew near. Bro. They showered her with bullets, thoroughly, so that she'd never come back to life again. They had to kill her for certain. Get rid of this monster right here and now. When they ran out of bullets, they closed the door and stood, breathing heavily. It was fine, she was a monster anyway. They riddled her with bullets, turning her into a pile of disjointed flesh. They did the right thing. They exterminated a monster and regained the peace in SHUTEN.
ねえ、返して。
They just massacred the abomination. How could she still be alive?
奪ったら返さなくてはいけないのよ。
She took a step closer.
ねえ、返して。
The clips were already empty.
返して。
There was nowhere to run.
「やはりよからぬことを企んでいたのね。強欲は身を滅ぼすと。
早めに捕まえといて正解。
捕まえたっつうか、こいつらが勝手に酔いつぶれてたんだけどな。
社長、このバカどもどうします？
酒瓶を抱かせてゴミ捨て場に置いておきなさい。
うっ。
Screaming guards were taken out of the room and silenced. That was SHUTEN's laboratory. In the center was a high-spec computer. It was surrounded by beds. A helmet lay beside each pillow.
それでは梅雨払いも済んだことだし、私たちも行きましょう。私たちの世界。
SHUTEN put on her helmet and lay down on a bed.
交際認証オン。認証ナンバー S0。電脳空間草薙にようこそいらっしゃいました。我らが創造主ご来訪を心より歓迎いたします。
SHUTEN, who was lying in bed one moment, disappeared into a different dimension.
いつ見ても美しいですね。私たちの学びや電脳空間草薙は。
ええ、ずいぶん解像度が上がったわ。それに物理演算も正常に再。
ええ、まさにリアルそのものかと。
It was a different world created by SHUTEN. Long ago, this technology used to be called VR or full dive. The prisoners' minds were converted into avatars. As for what they were doing,
みな学びに精を出しているようですね。
this whole space was a vocational school for the convicts. The AI course that SHUTEN made from scratch gave them knowledge and skills needed to work, and they could put it into practice immediately.
草薙はまさに理想的な職業学校と言えましょう。最高の指導。栗高校にはリアルの約10倍の時間があるのですから。
In the space of consciousness, the flow of time was different. You could spend 10 days here, while only one passed in the real world. In this place, prisoners would undergo training to improve their skills. When they were ready, they would be dispatched as temp workers. This was the mechanism behind the sudden growth of prison temp, created by SHUTEN. But even with such a perfect environment, not everything was going smoothly.
いちいち煽ってきやがって。ああ、八つ当たりか。てめえが下手くそなのがいけねえんだろうが。
Prisoners suddenly began arguing.
こら、あなたたち。
The secretary desperately tried to stop them, but to no avail. Instead, they got even more heated.
授業なんてやってられっか。おい、リアルに出ろ。望むところだ。スパナで頭かち割ってやるよ。
The prisoners were a violent folk. Fistfights and quarrels were an everyday occurrence. For a while, es sind relativ viele Rechtschreibfehler drin. For a while, their fights became more brutal, and the business plan experienced a setback. However, help came from the least expected place.
こらー、先生方に迷惑かけてんじゃねえぞてめえら。
Suddenly, a motorcycle gang appeared before them. The flag said disciplinary committee. They surrounded the men in no time.
俺たちクズを導いてくださる先生方を困らせてんじゃねえよ。これ以上やるってんなら喧嘩で。
That is cool.
すみません。
違うんです。俺ちょっとふざけてただけで。
喧嘩すんなとは言わねえよ。けどな、場所は選べ。俺たちクズにチャンスを与えてくれた先生方への恩を。
はい。ちゃんと勉強します。しますから。
自称風紀委員会。我々も彼らに助けられていますし。
そうね。彼らはいわば必要悪。
Fights were frequent in the newly established Kusanagi. The disciplinary committee was there to maintain order. And Ku Otsuki was the leader. He was a charismatic boy, known for his ability to keep the peace at the end. When he got angry, no one was able to utter a word of objection, except for one person.
グー君、喧嘩はよしなさい。
江崎博士、お疲れっす。
Ku sat up straight the moment Saturn spoke to him.
あなた、見かけるたびに柄が悪くなるのね。また勝手にアバターを変えたでしょ。
これはそのちょっとした改造で。
ダメじゃない。アバターの無断改造は高速で禁止されているはずでしょ。
いや、俺元の体がヘナチョコだからアバターで持っとかないと舐められ。
言い訳は後で聞くわ。校長室に来なさい。お説教よ。
俺これからメンバーと巡回に。
さあ、早く。
Saturn took him with her. She held his hand in front of everyone, causing the boy to blush.
いつも暑いね。羨ましいぜ。
母さん、お幸せに。
うっせえてめえら、見せ物じゃねえ。
There had been gossip in Kusanagi lately about the prodigy girl Saturn Ezaki and the hooligan boy Ku Otsuki. Could they be an item?
勘弁してくれよ江崎博士。俺は一応あんな風に連れてかれたら下のもんにし。
あなたが校則に違反するのが悪いのよ。もう少しおとなしくなさい。
おとなしくなんてできるわけねえだろ。リーダー。
いいえ、安静にしていなきゃダメ。
いや、それは確かにそうだけどよ。
In the real world, Ku had been hospitalized with a severe heart condition. He was making full dives to this world straight from his hospital bed.
精神と肉体は密接に結びついてる。あまり
だから心配いらねえって。ここで元気にしてりゃリアルの病も必ず治る。
医療は科学よ。プラセボで重病が治るわけないでしょ。
いやでもよ、じっとしてる方が俺の体には毒なんだよ。ああ、ちくしょう。俺も早く心臓直して仕事に。
He was always like this. When he wasn't asleep, he used all his time looking for something to do.
どうしてあなたはそんなにも落ち着きがないのかしら。
決まってんだろ。俺に穏やかな時間なんて江崎博士だって知ってんだろ。俺は人を殺したぜ。
Ku deeply regretted the hit and run he committed in the past. He wanted to help others as a way to repent, but due to his illness, he couldn't work in the real world. That frustration led to extreme and reckless actions. His way of thinking and behaving were hard to understand for normal people. That's exactly why. He was so fascinating. Saren liked him. He was a true outlaw, raised in the street. He had nothing. He was motivated, but he didn't have any special skills. Still, the prisoners followed him. Why was he so popular? Saren didn't know the law of the streets, and if she didn't know something, it meant that she had to research it.
クー君は罪の償いをしたいのよね。
ああ、そのためなら何だってする。
だったら私の研究に協力なさい。科学への貢献は立派な善行だから。さあ、またあれをやるわよ。
She took Ku to her desk.
大月クー、あなたは誰？
ストリートキッズだ。路上が俺の根城だよ。
大月クー、あなたは誰？
ひき逃げ犯。女を殺した最低のクズだ。
大月クー、
俺は捨て子だ。残された俺は。
大月クー、あなたは。
Every time Saren brought Ku to her office, she asked him this question, like a ritual. Asked thousands of questions, conducted psychological tests, made him draw and play chess. She was staring into the flowchart depicting his thought pattern.
大月クー、路上のリーダー。仲間のストリート身内への強い路上に放り出された過去の自分を救済しようとしているのかしら。
Thanks to her research, Saren was almost able to understand his way of thinking. The flowchart was almost done. Almost.
99%。
It was not yet 100%. There was one piece left.
君はどうして？
Why did he leave the woman he hit with his motorcycle to die? Ku Otsuki, a homeless street kid. His father had vanished before Ku was born. His mother raised him on her own, but she died from heart disease when he was little. The devastated boy had been handed from one relative to the next, and abandoned in the end. He was alone. In order to survive, he joined the street kids. Together, they committed petty theft using cars and motorcycles. The self-taught drivers raced together through town. He had earned his comrades' trust. Eventually, he became the leader. He came from nothing, but had found a new family. That family was more important than anything else. Thanks to her research, Saren understood Ku's past well, but it was not yet 100%. There was just one thing left that she didn't know about him.
クー君、そろそろ話してくれないかしら。
だから何度も話したじゃねえか。もしもリーダーの俺が捕まったら逃げなきゃダメだ。そう。
He didn't seem to be lying, but
いいえ、それは嘘よ。
she had come to this conclusion. According to the ministry report, the victim had still been breathing when he ran. She could have been saved had he called an ambulance. Was Ku so cruel as to leave the poor victim behind? If he'd been so despicable, he wouldn't have been so popular. The members of the disciplinary committee would follow him anywhere. They loved him dearly.
あなたには被害者を見捨てなければいけなかった事情があったはず。
だからねえってそんな事情は。
いいえ、ある。絶対にあるはず。
She was impatient to know. Why was he so obstinate? When she, the real genius, had asked him so many times.
私の頭脳を煩わせるなんて。 いい加減になさい。全部話して、すべてさらけ出しなさい。あなたという存在の本質を。
Ku flushed a dark red when Selen pushed him down. Not minding the jeers, Selen kept her cool. She wanted to know. She wanted to understand everything. Ku took his chance and fled. He was always like this. The more she tried to get closer to him, the more he would run. The last 1% remained unfilled. How could she make him talk about his past? What should she... She whispered in her office. If she had such a device, she could go back in time to observe Ku's life. Her secretary, having overheard, repeated this while tilting her head. Heretic scientists had built a machine capable of reversing time. There had been gossip in the SHUTEN Order some years ago, but it was impossible. It really did exist, so did the possibility of going back in time to fix old mistakes. One can't go back to the past, just then. A thought flashed in Seren's mind. She had figured out how to get closer to Ku. From that day, Seren shut herself in a lab, writing a program. She neither slept nor rested. She had a reason to hurry. His body was ravaged by the disease. He could die at any moment. According to the doctors, there was nothing else that could be done for him. She wanted to study the nature of Ku Otsuki before he perished, and to make him live forever. Ku was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. That day, he made a full dive as usual, but he was in a completely different world. Where was he? The townscape of SHUTEN that he was so familiar with. This street, and that one too. He knew them all. He would have often run through them with his comrades. He turned in the direction of the voice to see Seren, and... Ku instinctively clung to the vehicle. He wanted to apologize to it. In reality, he disposed of it long ago. Because of the accident. Seren sat on the bike and extended her hand to the boy. Was it okay to take her hand? He was sullied with crime. He had no right to ride his beloved bike. But he couldn't resist and climbed onto the motorcycle. He should have already forgotten about this town and bike, but with the two of them right before his eyes, there was no way he'd pass up a ride. He rode through the city of SHUTEN, the main street, back alleys. He rode with the same speed as he used to in the past. The town was silent, but Ku could hear many voices. The angry voice of a street vendor. The siren of a police car.
頼むぜクお前の運転テクであいつら振り切ってくれよ
The voices of his comrades riding along with him. With every voice, his heart grew closer to the past. The past he tried to forget, that now so vividly surrounded him.
やはり大切なのは環境ね。
Selen clung to his back, sensing how he felt. If she wanted to research his past, all she needed to do was take him there, in order to demonstrate that theory. Selen recreated the town from his past within Kusanagi. With this, he was bound to tell her. Now that they shared his past, it was the same as if they'd been friends all along. Secrecy was pointless. Selen was surprised at his sudden inquiry.
私の罪が気になるの？
ああ江崎博士は全然自分のことを話してくれねえじゃねえかたまには俺にもあんたのことを教えてくれよ交換しようぜお互いの過去一緒に走った俺たちはもう仲間だろ
He was right. If she wanted him to speak, she should have offered her past first, so she decided to tell him why she was here. What crime led her into those chains?
"私は単に恩返しをしたかっただけなの。
恩返しって
イオン・テコ、科学省の幹部。
そいつの名前は俺でも聞いたことがある
ええ、彼の際は私以上よ。それに慧眼も合わせ持つ自称研究者に過ぎなかった私の際を彼だけは見抜いてくれた。そればかりか、史上最大の研究所リュウグウの副所長に任命してくれたのよ。
Sen's life had changed and Teko Eon made a surprising choice. Her talent fully blossomed when she was allowed to use the best research environment. It was all thanks to his choice. Everyone hailed her as she rose to prominence with sheer intellect, a genius of the era. But she wasn't happy. When she was in Ryugu, she'd always been worried.
こんな大きな恩、どうやって返せばいいの？
Teko Eon gave her everything she had. She needed to return the favor, but it was too huge. What could she do? How could she? Finally, she reached a conclusion.
私ね、彼の夢を叶えてあげることにしたの。
イオンテコの夢
彼ね、地球に生命を復活させようとしていたのよ。星を命で満たしたいんですって。
できんのかよそんなこと地球はもう死の星なんじゃなかったのか
理論上は可能よ。死の星でも生き抜けるだけの強さを持った生物を生み出せばいいだけの話だから。
For that sake, she tried forcing the creature to adapt. She made organisms on land stronger. She made organisms on the sea stronger. She resurrected the dinosaurs and made them stronger.
恐竜の復活
いいえ、案外簡単だったわ。最高のコンピューターが演算を肩が
途方もねえな天才って
いいえ、そうでもないわ。どんな天才にも限界はあるの。例えば
Teko Eon and Selen Ezaki. The project to bring things back to life was going smoothly. Everyone thought so. They believed that those two could actually succeed. But then, the research failed in the very last stage.
私たちは強い生繁殖能力を取り戻すことには失敗したわ。
The Earth was currently in a sixth extinction. There was hardly any life outside Shuten. The main cause of the extinction was the loss of the ability to reproduce. It applied to plants, animals, and humans. None of the life forms were able to birth offspring, and the cause remained unknown. Even prodigies such as Tekuion and Seren Ezaki couldn't solve this riddle.
私は彼にプロジェクトの中止を進めたわ。繁殖能力を取り戻せないのであれば、地球を生命で満たすのは不可能だって。でも彼は決して諦めようとしなかった。
Teko was obsessed with making his dream come true.
究極の生命を繁殖能力を取り戻した生命
An organism. The ultimate life form, a living being able to reproduce. Strength lies in numbers. There were enough living creatures, they wouldn't go extinct easily. But that was just an abstract theory. Seren wanted to make Teko's dream come true, but it was absolutely impossible to achieve. She found herself stuck between loyalty and reality. She made up her mind.
私ね、別の世界で彼の夢を叶えてあげることにしたの。
別の世界
One day, while Teko was asleep, Seren slipped a helmet on his head. When she did, he was taken away to a new world constructed in the electronic sea. It was covered in vast nature, just like the old Earth. It seemed like a paradise.
地球を再生する必要なんてないの。みんなでこの電脳世界に移り住めばいいのよ。
With this, Seren extended her hand to Teko. This should be enough to pay off a debt, but
ふざけるな。こんなまがいものでは約束を果たしたことにならない。
he rejected her.
イオン・テコは誰かと約束していたらしいの。
電脳世界じゃダメ。
ええ。彼はあくまで星の復活にこだわっていたわ。
干渉っつうかロマンだな。約束
ロマンを追い求めるのはいいけれど、見ていられなかったわ。才能を浪費する天才の姿なんて。
Seren tried to convince him to abandon the project and pivot to bringing Shuten into cyberspace. She was determined to not let Teko Ion's gift go to waste. As a result,
動くな。江崎セレン、お前を国家転覆罪で逮捕する。
国家転覆罪ってなんでだよ。
いいえ、私の思想は悪いことなの。地球に再び生命を定着させ、万物の霊長としての、それは終点教の大目標の一つ。
she did not resist arrest. It's obvious for those it's obvious for those who violate the law to go to jail. What truly hurt her
残念だよ、ドクター江崎。まさか君を切り捨てることになるとはね。
was Teko Ion himself who reported her to the Ministry of Security. Pinned to the floor, Seren was in shock. How could Teko abandon her? Abandon her? At the same time, she knew that it was only natural. She and Teko were incapable of forming a non-transactional relationship. If interests don't align, it's normal to be disposed of.
だからね、クー君。
俺が羨ましい。いや、俺みてえな重病人の。
だからそれ。
それ？
あなたには何もないのに、いつだって仲間たちに囲まれているでしょ。並大抵ではない人望よ。それは利害を超越したハートとハートの関係なの。
She could only understand Ku Otsuki perfectly. Maybe something like emotion would grow in her hollow heart too. For that
だから
sake,
こそ気になるの。ひき逃げなんて起こしたのか。
Ku refrained from answering immediately and fell silent. Then, He stopped in the middle of the road, in the exact spot where the accident occurred. That night, Ku was riding his motorcycle down a back alley. Suddenly, a woman jumped out right in front of him. He braked immediately, but was too late. Her body tumbled on the dark road. He ran over to where she lay. She was coughing blood, but was still conscious. He was about to put her on his motorcycle, but despite being out of breath, she yelled in a hoarse voice. They wouldn't pay for someone who committed obvious suicide for cash. That's why she was waiting there, on a road without cameras, for a vehicle that would accidentally hit her. He was pleading for death while coughing blood. When her blood hit his face, a memory appeared in Ku's mind. His mother, suffering from heart disease, forcing out those words. His mother took that regret to her deathbed, because she made her son live a life of poverty. She died with an apology on her lips. She wanted to leave her son in peace, but she didn't want him to live a poor life. She shared the same wish with this woman. The sight of the woman and the last memory of his mother overlapped. Before he knew it, he was already on his motorcycle, leaving the woman behind. He wanted to get as far as possible from that place before he changed his mind. He knew it was the wrong choice. A hit and run was a serious crime. Still, he couldn't bring himself to interfere. She did that hoping for a child's happiness. He was relieved that he managed to escape. He felt that somewhere deep in his heart. He had killed someone. He couldn't return to his street family until he washed the blood off his hands. I killed a person. I killed a woman. When the Ministry of Security arrested him, Ku didn't resist. He killed a person. It was only natural for him to face the consequences. He killed a person, so he had to be punished. He had to atone. He wanted to atone so badly. Despite this, his heart condition rendered him immobile. He needed to atone, even if as an avatar. Redemption for his sin.
俺は帰りてんだ。笑ってあいつらのところに。
The moment Ku yelled, Saturn felt a strange, warm sensation in her chest.
理解度 100%。
The last piece fell into its place and her research was complete. It had been 2 years since Saturn met Ku in Kusanagi. She researched every possible thing about him. She spoke to him repeatedly, became close to him. And finally, they shared the most important memories of each other's past. Her research had borne fruit at last. She finally, fundamentally understood Ku. The warm emotion that manifested in her hollow chest proved this.
熱くて心地いい。
This was the truth behind Ku's popularity. Saturn finally understood.
ありがとう。これであなたに関する研究は完了よ。どうやってこの恩を返そうかしら。
いらねえよ、そういうのは。ダチの間で貸し借りはなしにしようぜ。
いいえ、これは貸し借りではなく願い。
願い？
ええ、私の心は大月空という少年に何、
It was call of God. What could he want from her at this point? There was something.
じゃあさ、いつか江崎博士の力で俺を竜宮に働きに行かせてくれねえか。
それくらいお安いご用意よ。でもそんなことでいいの？
ああ、見てみてんだよ。江崎博士が生み出してきたもの。それに竜宮で働いてりゃいつか所長のイオンテコに会えるかもしれねえしな。
会いたいの？
ああ、会って言ってやりてえことがあるんだよ。今すぐ監獄に行って江崎博士と仲直りしろってな。
何を言っているの、クー君。仲直りも何も私と。
終わってねえだろ、何も。もしも本当に終わってんならさ、泣いてんだよ。
Something wrong was streaming down her cheeks, unbidden. The first tears she ever cried. They fell one after another. She wanted to meet Teko again so badly. That's what her heart said.
あんま強がんなよ。ずっと監獄で自分磨きを続けてたんだろ。なんとなくわかるんだよ。あんたは俺と話してる時もおかげで勘違いせずに済んだぜ。
Self-improvement. Did she do that? Did she incite a rebellion at the largest prison in the country for Teko? Saturn didn't understand her own feelings. Her heart and brain weren't in sync.
彼に会ったところで何を話せばいいの？私きっと素直に話せない。
だからそのための俺だろ。俺がイオンテコをだまくらかして適当に仲立ちすっから。
彼はそんなに甘くない。クー君、軽々しく彼に近づいちゃダメよ。あまりイオンテコに近づくとあなたまで利用されて使い潰す。
俺はそんなやわじゃねえって。路上で身につけた技で。
きっとよ。きっと無事に帰ってきて。
Just then,
あなたが傷ついたりした。
大月空の心拍に異常発生。心肺停止を確認。強制ログアウトを開始します。
Gu put his hand to his chest, obviously suffering. An alarm echoed. The force lockout screen appeared. His worn-out heart had reached its limit.
こんなそこで。
クー君、しっかりして。
Saturn extended her arms as if to embrace him. And the next moment, Ku vanished from Kusanagi.
月空という少年が死んだんだ。
I blurt out. Ezaki seems to show significant distress.
君たちは知り合いか。
Despite being just a prisoner, Kuotsuki knew Ezaki was alive. I suspected they knew each other.
大月空は私の研究に協力してくれたの。
科学者と被験者か。
I bet that's not all. If the relationship stopped at that, Ezaki wouldn't be so distraught. Finally, I found something to negotiate with. Here's my chance.
大月空の最後について彼が異教徒とどう戦ったのか。
Even with the bait dangling before her, Ezaki remained silent. I want to talk.
僕が勝手に話すから。
There's no other option. I'll tell her everything without holding back.
夕方頃、地下にテロリストが突入してきたんだ。地上の研究室にいた僕は大月空と手を結び。
Tell her everything honestly. How I deceived Ku with my silver tongue. How I fed his comrades to the dinosaurs. How even after all that he helped solve the incident. How his effort revealed the enemy's true identity as pure land. How thanks to him my partner robot achieved great growth. How he sacrificed himself to save his companions in my place. And how he finally died, exhausted.
大月空は何度も言っていたよ。償いをしたいって。テロを打ち破って世界を救う。それは彼の最後の願いでも。だから江崎、手を貸してくれ。大月空の願いを叶えるためにも。
Appealing to emotions is futile. I knew as much, but my voice naturally grew louder. I was getting ready to say how I want to repay Ku, who sacrificed himself. Something changed. I became speechless. I can't believe my eyes. That said in Ezaki has tears streaming down her face.
勇敢に戦って偉いわ。クー君は
The genius cries like a normal girl in front of me. This is not the Ezaki I know. It seems she changed greatly during these years in prison. What changed her? Could it be Kuotsuki? Ezaki continued crying for a few minutes and spoke as she stopped.
いいわ。一度だけ。
本当か？
それが大月空の望みなら、彼には返しきれない恩があるから。心をもらってしまった恩が。
What a fantastic move, Kuotsuki. Making Ezaki feel something is no small feat. The SHUTEN order is saved.
それで、私はどこで何をしたらいいの？
僕の研究室に教祖の頭部を確保してある。
教祖様の人格を再現すればいいのね。
ああ、教祖の口から直接聞き出さなくてはいけないんだ。今にも停止してしまいそうなヤタの再起動コード。
That biocomputer is the cornerstone of SHUTEN. It can't be allowed to stop. We must hurry. For Adale too. He's still fighting by himself underground. And so I succeeded in getting Seiren Ezaki out of prison. The wing I tore off myself returns to Ryugu. The battle with Pure Land finally reaches its climax, however. This is unbearably awkward. I watch, standing behind Ezaki as she works on my computer. Ezaki and I were never close. Plus, I feel guilty for having sent her to prison. There's no way a conversation could flow. I knew it would turn out like this. That's the whole reason why I called Ray to come up. Why isn't he here yet? What's taking that idiot so long? Ray?
今どこだ早く僕の研究室に来いあ、テコさんちょうど今そちらに向かっているところですグズグズするな早く来てくれ二人だと気まずくて仕方ないんだ二人じゃあドクター江崎と無事合流できあ、僕の研究室にいる空気が重くて死にそうだ一刻も早く
準備完了よ
ああ
I hastily end the call with Ray and follow Ezaki's instructions. I put on the full-face device Ezaki gave me, and the very next moment.
交際認証オン認証ナンバー電脳空間草薙にようこそいらっしゃいましたご来訪を心より歓迎いたします
In the blink of an eye, I'm surrounded by magnificent nature, a place like the Earth of the past, before the extinction period.
フルダイブには成功したようねアバターの身体感覚に違和感
いや問題は何一つないまるでリアルにいるみたいだ
まるでも何もそこはリアルよあなたの夢を叶える
Kusanagi cyberspace. Ezaki developed this technology for me to fill the Earth with life again. Ezaki created a space similar to the Earth from the past to fulfill my dream, and yet I brushed her off. What's even more, I banished her from Yugu, sending her to prison. At that time, I thought I had no choice but to cut her off, but now...
この事件が解決したら、竜宮に戻ってくる気はないか
戻れるはずないでしょ私は犯罪者よ
恩赦を要求する君の罪が帳消しに
竜宮に戻ったところでどうせ私たちはまた衝突するわ
確かに僕らは水と油だでもだからこそだよ異物と衝突を繰り返すことでお互い成長することもある
Pawns aren't so worthless after all. Ray and Ku taught me that. It might be selfish to ask for forgiveness now, but...
私との未来を望むならまずは過去に決着をつけなさい
ああそうだな一つ一つ順番に向き合っていくよ教祖の意識をインポートしてくれ
I make my request with resolve.
抽出自我転送開始アバターと自我を融合身体感覚の同期処理開始
Finally, it begins. The ritual to revive the founder.
もうすぐそこに教祖様が現れるあのお方の降臨とハッキングを気にすることなく存分に階段なさい
ああ何から何まで恩に切るよ
感謝なら空君に良き再会を
Then the window showing Ezaki's face disappears. The very next moment. The world fills with white light. Flickering lights start to form all around. They swirl together, gathering at one point, and eventually... The founder's figure emerges at the focal point of the light. The founder is sleeping, leaning against a large tree. Her sleeping face reminds me of a delicate young girl. A miraculous sight. Myself, Ray, Ku, Arale and Ezaki. Our complex and intertwined story finally led to the founder's revival. The founder stirs and opens her eyes gently.
随分綺麗なところだね。まるで楽園みたいだよ。
She's still half asleep. Her speech feels slower than when she was alive.
動物だ。可愛いウサギさんが歩いてる。あっちはパンダ。それに隣にはデコまでいる。
The founder's smile hasn't changed at all.
嬉しいな。デコが隣にいるなんて久しぶりだよ。これは夢？
ああ、お察しの通りだよ。あいにくだが全て夢だ。
うん、そうだと思ったよ。夢みたいなことって、頭がぼんやりしてるけど、なんとなくわかる。
The founder smiles, as if she had figured it out.
死んだんだね。私。
Died. The moment those words left the founder's mouth, I almost fell to my knees.
自分の死について何？
何も。いつ死んだのかも思い出せないや。
そうか。
Hearing that, I feel a bit relieved. I'm glad she doesn't remember the pain of her body being cut apart. But there's no time for sentiment.
君の意識を呼び覚ましたのは他でもない。緊急事態が起こったんだ。
ヤタが？うわ、そりゃ。
ああ、一刻を争う事態だ。すぐに再起動。
コード？それなら簡単だよ。ちゃんとヒントを残しておいたでしょ。
あんなものヒントになるか。
テコならすぐに解けるクイズだよ。私に悲しい思いをさせた張本人なんだから。
悲しい。
あの日だよ。大聖堂でテコと最後に話したあの夜のこと。
As soon as she uttered those words, a memory resurfaced in my mind.
僕は今から君が一番大切にしているものを奪う。
That's right, that night I called the founder to the cathedral to say those awful words.
そうか。なら再起動コードは？
分かったところでどうしようもないけどね。
A strong impact to my head. My vision goes black.
永遠の夢を、テコ。私と一緒に。
The fuck? Rumble Suzut, das ist das gleiche wie eben. Das kann man nicht skippen. Okay. Rumble Suzut, Rumble Suzut. Ja. I step out of the escape pod. I'm now at a lake surrounded by a forest. I managed to reach the shore, but... I know it's around here, but...
ずいぶん時間がかかったな。イオンって子は。
ヒメルさん、ミコトルさん。
I thought I lost sight of you underground, to think you were already at the surface.
二人ともどうやって地上に？
我々天使には翼がある。いざとなれば。
姫は飛ぶよりかけっこの方が好きだけどね。さあ、竜宮まで走るわよ。
はい。
So we start running.
姉ちゃん、走りながら聞いてほしいの。
お願い？
レイ、これから君はイオンって子の研究室で。
はい。死んだ自分。
教祖の頭の中を覗けてエリミネートコードのありかを。
Elimination code.
エリミネートコード？
ああ、全く別のものだ。終焉を止めるためにその所在を確かめておく必要があるんだ。
So.
終焉を止めるために。
Gar nicht sass.
エリミネートコードは封印された神の力だ。そのありかはあの恐るべき力が万が一でも誤った使われ方をしたら、だからどこにあるのかを知っておく必要が。
And then.
しもべれ、今どこだ？早く僕の。
Tekoian's voice sounded through the headset.
ペコさん、ちょうど今そちら。
ぐずぐずするな。早く来てくれ。
二人？
ああ、僕の研究室にいる。空気が重くて死にそうだ。
The call abruptly cuts off. It's really just that awkward.
というわけなんで急ぎましょう。ヒメルさん、ニコトルさん。
I force my exhausted body to run through the forest. Soon the battle will be over. Pure Land has been wiped out. All that remains is to reboot Yata. I dive into the entrance of Ryugu and run up the spiral staircase.
もう少しだよ。
Our battle, which pushed us deeper and deeper underground, is now on the surface. Finally, the end is in sight.
遅くなりました。
Without knocking, I jump right into the lab. I lost my voice. We arrive in Teko Ion's laboratory only for someone to fire. A mysterious girl had fired the gun. Who's this girl? Why is she firing a gun? I'd asked the angels for advice, but they disappeared again.
こんにちは、しもべレイさん。思ったより早かったわね。
The strange girl knew my name.
あなた、
私は江崎セレン。
江崎。あなたがドクター江崎。
I didn't know she was a woman. Well, regardless of that, how do I interpret this situation? In front of me is a girl with a gun, Seren Ezaki. Teko Ion is sleeping in the corner with a helmet on, and Seren Ezaki shot my head.
なぜ教祖の頭部を？
もう役目を終えたからよ。
役目？
ええ。イオンテコを電脳世界におびき寄せる餌としての役目。彼はもはやカゴの鳥。もう二度と。
Despite all this commotion, Teko Ion isn't waking up.
史上最高の天才もこうなっては形なしね。
Seren Ezaki strokes Teko Ion's cheek. This sent chills down my spine for some reason.
何？
I can't comprehend what I see. Seren Ezaki. What is she?
何をしているの？
つまり俺が黒幕ってことだよ。
I hear a voice, one I never thought I'd hear again.
空耳？
But it was clear. But it was very clear, as if he had come back to life.
空耳じゃないぜ、レイさん。俺なら目の前にいるじゃねえか。
The eyes are different colors. This is
クー君と同じ。
not just the eyes, but the facial structure too. And the scar on his hand. And the gun he used. Everything is the same as Ku.
本当にクー君なの？
The person in front of me nodded while speaking in two different voices.
江崎私が
大月クーだ。あんたと一緒に地下を旅した大月クーだ。
「
Having locked off Kusanagi, Saren ran down the hall, struggling for breath. She was heading to the prison hospital. That was where Ku had been hospitalized. Several minutes had already passed since his heart stopped. If she was unlucky, Ku was already... While running, she prayed to make it on time. She had to. She couldn't lose him. Not Ku Utsuki. But what she saw when she reached the ward. Was Ku's lifeless body, his face covered in a white cloth. He was silent and lay completely still. She couldn't believe that just moments ago they were riding his motorcycle together. Saren stood there in utter shock. Ku didn't move an inch. He was clearly dead. A gunshot reverberated throughout the room. The doctor slumped to the floor, dead. 3 consecutive shots rang out as Saren shot the doctor again and again. She wanted to ensure that no one would see what she was about to do. Now with the second corpse in the room, she pulled the cloth from Ku's face, as she did. She saw the face of an innocent boy. He had red hair and freckles. He didn't resemble his avatar in the slightest. It was a completely different person. Yummy. Saren opened his right eyelid and put a spoon inside. Then she gouged out his eyeball as if carving a melon. She held Ku's eyeball in her right hand. It was equivalent to having his ID. In her left hand, she held a nerve chip. Thanks to her research, she had almost perfectly recreated Ku's personality inside it. With these. By replacing her eyeball, she obtained Ku's biological ID. Inserting the nerve chip into the brain allowed her to obtain his personality itself. In the prison records, Saren died that day in an accident. On the same day, a prisoner left the hospital. Uotsuki was standing in the prison hall. He couldn't remember why he was here. He felt dizzy, but he gradually began to remember. He was cured thanks to the latest medical treatment devised by Saren Ezaki. He was discharged and now he was heading to work. He was dispatched to Ryuru, the lab where Saren used to work.
じゃねえか。しゃあ、働くぜ。
He shouted to lift his spirits. With his healthy body, he was ready to work. Ku digested that feeling for a moment. He had no idea what awaited him, but he was sure he would figure it out once he started working.
俺の償いの道が。
Ku ran toward his dream of redemption. He had no idea that while clinging to that dream, he himself was also dreaming. Complete Seren Ezaki's story. Yesterday, about 3 p.m., I suspended Ku Otsuki's personality and rose to the surface of his consciousness. I dug out the communication device I had buried in the warehouse to contact my comrades outside.
ああ、すでに包囲は完了だ。あんたが突入を指示してくれたら、総員玉砕覚悟で竜宮にぶっ込むぜ。
そう。では5分後に突入を。地下に入り込むまで、決してイオンテコに侵入を悟られてはダメよ。
ああ、わかってる。この日のために散々訓練を重ねてきたんだ。
エレベーターで地下に降りたら、経路は必ず全て爆破するのよ。警備省とイオンテコが地下に入り込めない状況を作り出すのがこの作戦の肝なのだから。
その辺も抜かりはねえよ。これさえあればどんな経路も大崩落だ。
There are uncountable people that loathe Teco Ion in his country. I fueled them on by funding them and providing weapons for terror.
地下の封鎖が済んだら各所に仕掛けておいたバーサクを私の方で起動しておく。
The sound these cubes emit affect the nerve chips embedded in the animals, overwriting a command.
一斉に動物が凶暴化するからあなたたちまで餌食にならないように。
ゲノムを改変されたセーフでもよ、そういう汚れた
動物は地下を守る最強の門番。それが来る。他のセキュリティについても問題ないわ。すでに地下の警備室は全滅させておいたから。
Without them, the security robots can't do much. As chaos breaks out, they should malfunction.
あなたたちを邪魔するものは何もない。ただひたすらに最新ヤタのもとにたどり着いたら爆破、もしくはポートにキーを差し込めばヤタは機能を停止して終点峡谷は絶滅を跳ね返すことができなくなるわ。
Doesn't matter how, as long as Yata is halted, the plan can be altered on the go.
万事了解。ありがとよ。あんたが同志になってくれなかったら俺たちは看板掲げて抗議するだけの、それが今や終点橋やってやるぜ。汚れ切った命を浄化して清潔な地球を取り
They call me one of them. I suppose in some way that's true. We do at some point want the same thing, but the destination is different. Their goal is to end the Shuten order. My dream doesn't end there.
手はず通りに幸運を祈っているわ。
My work is done. If I were to go any more as said in Ezaki, people would get suspicious, so...
戻りなさい、クー君。
I pull deep into my consciousness again, giving control to Ku Utsuki.
嘘だ。そんなはず。クーク。
信じられないでしょ。それこそが 大月空の力な自然と他人の懐に入り込み信頼を勝ち取る天然の人たらし。竜宮の職員も警備員もイオンテコでさえもおかげで私は着々と準備を整えることができ、人望豊かなトロイの木馬。私にとって大月空という人格は敵陣に入り込むためのツール。
This girl hiding in Ku led the heretics to us, but wait.
だったらどうしてクー君は私と一緒に生きようと追いかけてくれたんですか？
Kuotsuki definitely chased after the terrorists of Seren Ezaki. She's just putting out her own fires.
そこは私の唯一のミス。私の読みでは大月空は資材倉庫でこの騒動をやり過ごすはずだったの。生き残って路上の家族の元に帰るために。
But Seren Ezaki's reading was off. Oops. Yeah, we get it. Ku's morality made him jump out of the warehouse. He saved us. And he even sacrificed his own life, or so I thought.
あの時はさすがに危なかったわ。でも間一髪のところで私は海を泳いでなんとか浜辺にたどり着き、エリア8の隠し部屋に残されていた脱出ポットをお先に一つ拝借したというわけ。
Come to think of it, one of the pots already been used, so Seren Ezaki had used it. Then Seren Ezaki returned to the prison and reunited with Deku Ion. Then she returned to Ryugu as Seren Ezaki. Deku Ion is now trapped in cyberspace and is stopping Yata from rebooting. The scale is suddenly so huge, both the size of the plan and the span of it, completely beyond what most could do. But why would she go to such?
あなたはどうしてそうまでしてヤタを破壊しようと、そんなに終点峡谷が憎いんですか？
Seren Ezaki spent all this time and effort just to destroy Shuten. Why the obsessive hatred?
いいえ、私はただ恩返しがしたかっただけ。
恩返し？
How is destroying the world returning a favor?
私はかつてイオンテコによって見出され、その限りなく大きな恩を返したかった。なのに彼は私のプレゼントした電脳世界を受け取ってくれなかったわ。リアルの方がいいんですって。私にとって恩返しは全てなの。私からの贈り物を拒む、滅ぼすことにしたの。リアルが消えれば電脳世界に移り住むしかなくなるでしょ。
To accept her repayment, she did all this for that? Costing the lives of countless people. Playing with the life of Kuotsuki. And destroying the entire world.
さあ、ヤタが止まればいよいよフェーズ6、天地開闢のスタートよ。滅びかけたこの地球を生贄に捧げ、イオンテコは創世神に、私はそのパートナーと永久に。
狂ってる。
I can't let Seren Ezaki live. She really will end the world if we don't end her first.
お前だけは絶対に。
Even if she looks like Ku.
よしなさい、野暮な真似は。敵対するより私についた方が賢いわ。あなたも私の電脳世界の一員にしてあげるから。
お断りです。
いいの？この誘いを断って。もしも私の世界の一員になれば大月空と再会することだってできるのに。
Seren Ezaki held up a case with a single chip.
あなたの知っている大月空は元来意識だけの存在よ。このチップが健在である限り何度だって再生できる。
I can see Ku again. How could I refuse? I'd give anything to see him again. But refuse, bro. Refuse.
ダメ。いくら会いたくても、お前の手を取ったりしたら。
姉さんはすげえ。まさに正義の味方だぜ。
私はクー君を裏切ることになる。
Ku, who called a no-name like me a champion of justice. He believed in me, so I will never join you. And
どのみちお前を倒せば、そのチップは手に入る。
そう、残念。あなたのような変わり種も新世界に欲しかったのに。
just you wait, Ku. I'm going to save you as soon as the power of God destroys Seren Ezaki. I don't know what happened. I can't comprehend it. The power of God activated, but it blasted away. Not Seren Ezaki, but the ship.
そんな。
I had a clear shot at Seren Ezaki's head, and
どう
yet
して神の力がクー君を破壊するの？
神の力？大層な物言いね。あなたの使っているその力、単なるハッキングでしょ？
神の力がハッキング？
no, that can't be true. The power of God is a supernatural miracle. God has helped me with so many miracles.
とても高度な P2P アーキテクチャ。その気になれば誰であろうと壊せるし、あなたが地下で恐竜やサメを操ることができたのも本当に素晴らしいスキル。マックを正面から抗うのは私でも分が悪い。大月空のチップをあなたが私にその力を使ったら代わりにチップが壊れるように。
What on earth is Seren Ezaki talking about? There's only one thing I know. By my hand, I'm going to...
共に旅した男の子を殺した気持ちはどう？大月空は少々老いたが過ぎた。私の体を勝手に使って死にかけるなんて、この貸しはきっちり回収しなくてはいけないと思っていたの。だから殺すことにしたの。大好きだったレイさんの手で。
What have I done? I can't believe I killed
そんな
Ku.
に青ざめなくても大丈夫よ、レイさん。あなたもすぐに同じところに送ってあげるから。
Seren Ezaki points the gun to my heart. Point blank range, there's no escaping. I didn't even consider it. I'm sorry, Ku. I couldn't do as he wanted. In fact, I finished him off. I'm an irredeemable fool who deserves to die. Who deserves this? I give up all hope and close my eyes, not resisting, just awaiting the end.
さようなら、レイさん。
That time, when I was sinking to the bottom of the ocean, I lost everything. My sight wrapped in white light. A voice sounds from somewhere. My consciousness melted in the light, fading to nothing. I became nothing, not even knowing who I was. I'm going to disappear. My will to fight is gone. I accepted my destruction, but... The pinky I crossed with Ray that night, that kept me tied to this world. Focusing on that pinky, I was being brought back. Who am I? Ku Otsuki? What am I? A hit-and-run scumbag. Why am I alive? Well, that's obvious. To help the person who hugged a pathetic criminal and saved my soul. Kuotski is right here. Keep going. Don't give up. I ain't dying here. I give my all to reach the surface for Ray's sake. That's Kuotski's. As my face bursts through the surface, I find myself in darkness. Up, down, left, right, all darkness. There's no one, no sound. A hidden area in Ryugyu? I was in area 8, just then. A sharp pain runs through my head. A whole avalanche of information comes roaring in, and everything becomes clear. That's right, I'm not the real Kuotski, the real me. Died from a heart disease long ago. The genius made a personality just like the original Kuotski and installed it in me. I'm disgusted to think that was my first love. Professor Ezaki only thought of me as a tool all along. She used the personality from Kuotski and used it to get into Ryugyu. She destroyed everything. She did one unbelievable act of evil after another, and now... she's trying to kill Ray. I scream from within as loud as I can. Kill Ray? I will never let that happen. I swore that. Doesn't matter who it is. I'll burn my soul, give everything, anyone who hurts him. I take back control and point the barrel at me, at Professor Izaki's heart. The chip might have given birth to the fake Kuotski, but... Seren Ezaki fights with her all. I will not give her control. I couldn't help but laughing. If you think I want that, then you're no genius, you're a dumbass. I know something even greater, something more than eternal bliss. I put pressure on the trigger. The second her heart is shot by her own hand, I feel Seren Ezaki's presence leave this body. And I find myself looking up at the ceiling. I don't have the strength to move, not even a finger. I'm pretty confident in my ability to fight at death's door, but there's no getting out of this. I'm not afraid of death. I've died so many times. It's really relieving to get it over with. There's a gaping hole in my heart, but I'm filled with a sense of accomplishment. Taking Seth and Ezaki along, I was able to help Rei. That's more than enough for me. That's enough, but...
クー君ねえクー君なんでしょ
Rei is peering into my
どうして
face.
君はいつもそうやって私のために自分を犠牲に
レイさんに見とってもらえんのか。
It's a hell of a bonus. That's the best way to go. It's kind of a waste on scum like me.
なんで君はいつも私のことばっかり
The tears streaming from his face warm my exhausted soul. It's so warm.
クー君何か言い残したいことはない
Being asked that, I...
レイさん、俺の家族に
必ず伝えるよ
俺も一緒に帰りてえが。
大丈夫クー君の魂も連れて行くから私たちの魂は小指と小指で結びついているからね
Always together. My soul is linked with him. That's relieving. As I relax, my vision fades, with my eyelids never to open again. But I wasn't afraid, because no matter where my soul goes, it's with Rei. Ja, left something undone, blah, blah, blah. Ach so, nee, es geht hier weiter. I repeatedly call out to Teko Ion, still sleeping in bed. I keep shaking him, still, he doesn't wake up. I was at a loss. I can't do anything until Teko Ion, our ray of hope, wakes up. He has to come back to our world. If we take it off, Teko Ion might wake up. It's worth a shot. I put all my strength into my hands and forced the helmet off of Teko Ion's head, but then... Teko Ion's body started to violently spasm. His eyes went wide and his whole body was convulsing. Perhaps this helmet wasn't meant to be taken off? I desperately hold Teko Ion's body down, but the spasms don't stop. It seems to get worse. Teko Ion's body writhed around like a snake. Eventually, he stopped moving. Yeah. I get it.
嘘ついたら針千本のマス
償いだ。なんだよここ。すっかり騙されたぜ。
さようなら
おいやめろ。俺が必ず俺がチップ亡霊だかレイさんを取引でしか魂の熱さをよ。
どうして君は
レイさんに
なんねクー君何か
Last thing I'd ask him.
素顔見せてくれねえか。
I want to see his face under that mask before I go. It must be a kind, attractive face.
Aんた
The shock almost made my gaping heart stop all over again. I've seen his face all over town, on TV, posters, the newspaper, flyers. No doubt about it, this person is the founder of the SHUTEN order. The founder called my pathetic name.
あなたの罪を許します。決して己の罪から逃げず、泥にまみれても決してくじけることなく、ついに贖罪の意志を貫牢獄から解き放たれました。もう何者もあなたを縛ることはできません。よく頑張ったね、クー君。君は帰れるんだよ。
すげえ。
The highest person in the country, the founder, took off his mask and showed himself to me. He forgave my sins. I want to die with this joy overflowing me, but I have one last thing to do. I've raised the founder. I muster all my remaining strength to point.
Mm. 必ずテコさんを救い出すよ。今度は私が頑張る番だから。
俺もついて生きてえが。
うんうん。離れていたって私たちはいつだって一緒だよ。だって私たちの魂は小指と小指で結びついているからね。
Always together, my soul linked with him that's leaving, blah blah blah. So relax, my vision fades, with my eyelids never to open again, but I wasn't afraid. My soul is linked with rays, plus... These guys are all with me.
いつまで待たせんだよ。
俺らがどんだけ待ったと思ってんだ。
悪い悪い。
I laugh and run to my family.
恐竜に乗って旅してたんだよ。なあ、誰が一緒だったと思う？
寝ぼけたこと言ってねえで、とっとと行くぞ。
しっかりしてくれよ。エースの
今日も先頭頼んだぜ。
おう、任せろや。お前らは全員俺が守ってやるからな。
I get on my trusty bike and ride off with my friends. Where should we go today? I'm free to go anywhere, because my very soul is with Ray. Because his story is really over this time. Really though. It's over now. Just a few years after the founder said she would form a country, she established SHUTEN. The absolute leader, the founder. Competent ministers to support. People who worship the founder. With these three pillars joining hands, we built a uniquely peaceful nation. While not flawless, our foundation was solid. With the foundation solidified, the next step in nation building was further development. To support the nation's development through science, I established Ryugu in focus on research. Mir tut der Hals schon richtig weh, ey. My goal is to fill the Earth, now in its extinction period, with life. To make the Earth a happy planet again, however. I fell into a severe slump. I had no motivation. No ideas came to mind. This was equivalent to death for a researcher. My ideal research environment was going to waste. Why was I so demotivated? To find the cause of my lack of motivation, I analyzed myself and quickly found the answer. I was fulfilled. SHUTEN had everything my past self desired. A peaceful nation without conflict. An ideal research environment. And above all, trustworthy friends right beside me. Friends just a step away. Friends I could meet anytime and talk with until dawn. And my longest standing friend. An ally with whom I built a nation. My soul was already fulfilled. It's no wonder my hunger was gone. Once satiated in the present, one can't move on to the next life. At that rate, I wouldn't.
お願いテコ、地球をまた幸せな星にして。
I wouldn't be able to keep my promise. That's unacceptable. Her order means everything to me, so I made a decision. I destroyed perfection with my own 2 hands. That night, 25 years ago, I called the founder to the cathedral and ended our friendship.
せめて理由を聞かせてよ。どうしてテコは私を切ろうと思ったの？
In 25 Jahren ist der Counter nur 500 runtergegangen. In 25 Jahren. Ja. Can you please tell me why? The reason is obvious. To fulfill my promise with you, but I couldn't say that to her face.
ダム？
To break the stagnation and fulfill her dreams, Since then, I only talked to her when absolutely necessary. Our smooth, harmonious world broke apart like China. And then, as planned, I regained my motivation. Ich finde gut, dass China strays catched. My research advanced rapidly. One success after another in strengthening life. I even resurrected dinosaurs. Though I did face many troubles along the way, I'm getting close to completing my research. Just wait for me, founder. Soon I'll tell you. Soon. I'll fulfill my promise. Perhaps this was self-satisfaction all along. I mistook a means for an end somewhere. I started my research to make you happy, but I made you sad in the end. Those priorities aren't aligned. That's why. It's natural for you to resent me. I'm sorry, I'm a plague. It's my fault you died. All of it, all my fault.
言ったろ？君を憎むことはないって。
Hearing her voice, I opened my eyes and there was Rei Shimobe with his kind smile. No, it's not him. This isn't Rei Shimobe. It's his body, but this feels like...
誰よりも私を思い、自らのすべてを投げ打って、私を幸せにしてくれた優しいテコ。
My former friend, disguised as Rei, speaks words of forgiveness.
私はいつも願ってる。今度はテコが。
僕は君に。
I must say something, but I'm too flustered to say anything properly.
テコ、どうか自分の信じる道を歩んで、約束とか責任なんてどうだっていい。自分が一番幸せだと思える選択を。
The founder, seeing how I'm struggling with my words, smiles at me once more. She speaks her final words.
そう、あれかし。
Take story is over, proceed with Rei. In den in dieser Route geht der Counter auch nicht wirklich runter, ne? Oder? In the dream, I'm standing in ruins. I look around and give a dejected sigh. I went all this way to inspect a potential site, yet it was worse than expected. The houses are rotting from the foundation, from exposure to bad wind. Not a single blade of grass grows here. No wonder they abandoned the city. It's ruled by death. We wanted to build a country here. Geographically, this area is definitely the best, but it's completely polluted. The building could be reused if we reinforce it, but it will rot again regardless. Pollution is obstructing our progress. The whole world, so to speak, is an enemy of the SHUTEN order. Annihilation from all directions. And then, I suddenly have an idea. If the world is rejecting us, then we also need to say goodbye. Yes, we should. We will go to Amano Iwato. The sound of yelling wakes me up. What I see is the exact opposite of my dream. Lush greenery, animals roaming the meadows. Is this Ryugu? No, Ryugu is a lot smaller. I dove into cyberspace through the device on the founder's head. Yes, it's all to save someone. This is the man who guided us. His disembodied voice, den hast du doch schon gemietet, ganz am Anfang, als dich eingesperrt hat. It was only yesterday, yet it feels like an eternity ago. He's rude, but now's not the time to fight. I tell him about Dr. Ezaki's plan. How Seren Ezaki was inside Ku. And how Ku thwarted her too. Tekuion did not seem shocked in the slightest. The sudden question took me by surprise. In real life sind das auch Electrons. What the fuck? He may appear to be a calm, rational guy. In truth, he may be more stuck in the past than anyone else. In the sentimental real world. Speaking of the earth. The dream makes me curious. I have a feeling that there's some hidden meaning in those words. In space! I hear a voice from somewhere. Arara's face popped up.
どうやってここに。
この短時間何を寝ぼけている。今は1月4日の深夜なり。
嘘。私がここにフルダイブした時はまだ3日の午後3時くらいだったのに。
やられた。江崎ここで過ごす数分は外の
どうしてそんな。
僕を浦島太郎にするためだよ。江崎は僕を完全に外の世界から切り離すつもりだったんだ。
早く戻って。今日いっぱいで。
Communication with Arara abruptly cut off. Must be the security. Not good. At this rate, Yata will stop and my temporary body has until sunrise on the 5th, and yet...
早く脱出を。
落ち着けしもべ。空に向かって VVIP 権限を要求しろ。およそこの終点境に存在する全 AI は君の要求を
VVIP privileges? Wait, I've heard of that.
VVIP 権限を確認しました。機密情報をアンロックし。
VVIP 権限をください。私たちをここから出して。
Back to the sky. Then the next moment. A white light envelops the world.
VVIP 権限を確認しました。スペシャルオーダーを承認。自我、パージ、エクソダス。
In an instant, we were thrown out of cyberspace and... We woke up in the lab. I pull off the device on my head and run to Teko Eon's PC. The reset code entry screen is there.
早く答えを考えてくだ。
うるさいな。肩を揺するな。大丈夫。答えはすでに分かってるんだ。僕は草薙で聞いたんだ。教祖の思いを。
テコならすぐに解けるクイズだよ。私に悲しい思いをさせた。
悲しい。
あの日だよ。大聖堂でテコと最後に話したあの夜のこと。
このヒントは僕ならすぐに気づけたは
Was
ず。
ist denn überhaupt der Hint?
あいつの叫びだったんだ。あの日大聖堂で僕が切り捨てたもの、それを英語に変換するだけ。フレンドシップ。
Friendship, huh? Teko Eon types that in. There's no response. Is that the wrong answer? If that's the case, the word is... and the next moment. The screen emits a bright light. It hurt our eyes. Alada tells us the reset is complete. A huge brain, glimmering and glowing, is on the PC screen. Seems like we just managed to foil Saren Ezaki and Pure Land's plan to shut down Yata and destroy the world. This time the battle is over. I know it in my head, but my emotions haven't caught up. There's too much to take in, but the joy slowly dawns on me. I report my victory to Ku. I hug Ku's body to share the joy. Ku's life was lost, but it wasn't in vain. The soul he left behind is still with me. He had my back. Ku, of course, can't say anything, but I feel like he's smiling at me. Just like then. And so the 3-day battle against the terrorists came to a close. I really want to share the joy of victory with Teko Eon, but there's still one thing left to do. Interrogating Teko Eon, to uncover the truth of the murder of the founder. Dann geht richtig viel runter. Am 5. Januar. I chose a forest in the suburbs as the location for my interrogation. I wanted to rent a lab, but Ryugu is under reconstruction. As an outsider, getting in is too much work. January 5th. When the sun rises, my temporary body will decay. Unless I find out who murdered the founder.
それでは早速取り調べを始めてもその前に一つお伝えしたいこと。私はこれからあなたを教祖殺害事件の犯もしかしたら尋問に近いようなことをするかもしれません。
If push comes to shove, I'll use the power of God. I can't hold back right now.
でもどうかこれだけ取り調べの結果、あなたが今日私は決してあなたを憎んだりしません。軽蔑も
I've learned over these 3 days. Teiko Ion is a man of action. He would even kill the founder if he had to. But despite his methods, he always has a just cause. Teiko Ion is not a rogue. That's why it's tough to have to accuse my partner who fought so hard with me and
儀式の総仕上げに犯人から犯人を殺すって意味さ。
if he really is the culprit, then I will have to kill him.
呆れたな。最近の探偵は容疑者に気をつ。
あなたは容疑者であると同時に
だからこそだよ。仲間だからこそ気を。僕も君と同じだ。この取り調べの結果、もしも僕は決して君を憎まない。だからしもべ、クールな頭脳と圧倒的な偏見を持って全力で僕を糾弾しろ。
Ärger nie wieder den Hund. With your cool biased views.
探偵とは最低者とはそう。
I feel my heart going a mile a minute. My back straightens in preparation. What sort of detective gets encouraged by the suspect? As a detective, I must focus on nothing but the truth. And if that's what is required, then maybe I need to accept that fate. Among that truth, if it's actually necessary for me to be revived as the founder, if, like with Teiko Ion, there's a justice in it, then I must. Even if that person is someone so dear to me. I laser focus my gaze onto him. Finally, the interrogation begins. What kind of person is the suspect, Teiko Ion? First, let's get over that.
科学省幹部であるあなたが竜宮で長年取り組んできた研究について。
僕の研究内容は簡単に言えば生物の強靭。
地下で嫌ってほど体感してきましたからね。
Tigers, dinosaurs, sharks, chimeras. Freaky creatures continuously attacking us. The memory makes me shudder. And yet all these creatures because...
ヤタを守るためには最強の門番が必要だから、テコさんは生物を強くした。
ああ、ヤタは終点鏡の根幹とも言える装置だ。並大抵のセキュリティではとても守りきれない。
But there's another reason he's doing that. Not just to protect the Yata. He once said...
動物たちを強く強く進化させれば。
Teiko Ion's new world. It's... Earth in its past state, an Earth full of creatures. Past state, as in, das soll so werden wie früher. Würde ich so unterschreiben, ja.
テコさんは命あふれる過去の地球を取り戻したかった。外の過酷な環境にも負けないような。
Yes. This guy wanted to see it again. The world he and his friends lived in. That should do it for basic information. Now it's time for the murder case.
テコさん、担当直入に聞かせてもらいます。
いや、僕はあいつを手にかけていない。あいつの死に僕が事件への直接的な関与は全面的に否認する。
The suspect denied the allegations. To overturn a denial, you have to encircle them with your deductions. I ask... Warum ist das... Keine Ahnung, das Steuerkreuz irgendwie am Arsch. I decided to ask about this alibi on the day. The dismembered body of the founder was found in a park on the morning of New Year's Day. So the founder was murdered.
大晦日の夜、あなたはどこで何をしていましたか？
その質問に答える前に僕から一つ情報を提供。
目撃証言。
大晦日の午前0時頃に 大聖堂の警備を担当していた夜警が教祖は手ぶらで清掃だったそうだ。フードを深くかぶってうつむきがちに歩いていたらしい。
それ以後教祖を目撃した。い
や、現状それが最後の目撃証言だ。
If this is true, then it's a big hint, but...
でもフードを深くかぶっていた。夜にフードをかぶっていたら顔が確認。
ああ、誰かが教祖になりすましていた可能性は。
なら正確には午前0時に教祖らしき人物が目撃。
そういうことになる。そして現状その人物が本当に教祖だったか否かを確定する手段はない。
Ooh. So we don't know.
というか、まともに捜査の進んでいないこの段階で確定できる情報なんてないに等しい。偏見に満ちた推論を積み重ねていくしかないんだ。
推論を積み重ねる。
Hypothetically, if it was the founder the Watchman saw, that would mean the founder was murdered between midnight and 6 a.m. The murderer killed the founder somewhere in the city and scattered the corpse around the park in the morning?
情報提供に感謝します。その上で大晦日の午前0時から
その時間僕は竜宮の研究室で
それを証言してくれる人は。
一応あられは一緒にいたが、あいつは
アリバイはなしと。
But I need actual evidence to claim Teko is the culprit. I need more information. The suspect denied the allegation.
テコさん、あなたと教祖の関係性に
I need to know how they got along. This is vital. It confirms if he had a motive.
あなたと教祖は終点教発足前からのそれだけ付き合いが長ければ、その相手を異性として意識した。
その質問に答える前に、教祖の性別について、それはこの国のトップシークレットの一つだからね。
教祖の性別って。
ああ、公式の記録では性別非公開となっている。カリスマ性の演出を目的に教祖自身の発案でずっと秘密に。僕は付き合いが長いから教祖の本当の性別を知ってはいるが。
ではテコさんにとっては教祖はあくまで友達。
ああ、あいつは僕の終点教国建国後は個人的な付き合いは立たせて。
それはなぜ。
国の象徴である教祖は民を平等に愛さなく、あいつに友達なんていちゃいけないんだ。
Founder shouldn't have friends. I felt my heart ache. Perhaps the founder in me is grieving. The founder must have been sad that Teko Eon cut off. That's why. She set the Yata reset code to friendship. Someday Teko Eon may type those words for me.
教祖に絶好を言い渡した夜、自分がいかに孤独なのか。あの時教祖であり続ける限り、自分は誰にも頼れず、あいつを孤独に。僕が絶対的な味方であり、あいつの死の原因を作っ。そういう意味では。
So there was indeed a strained relationship between Teko Eon and the founder, but he doesn't have a motive.
教祖が最後に目撃された大聖堂って。
文字通りの教祖は1年の節目節目に大聖堂で祈るんだ。大晦日の夜も教祖は大聖堂の祈りの間にいたはずだ。
祈りが毎年の恒例行事なら、教祖がそこに来るのを。
その可能性は低いだろうね。出入りする際には僕ら幹部も厳重な本人チェックを受けずに大聖堂に自由に出入りできるのは。
The cathedral where even executives couldn't bring in a weapon, so it's unlikely the founder was murdered here. No, there's not enough information to build a case against Teko Eon. His alibi and lack of motive isn't enough. Any tidbit of information, I need to somehow pull it out.
そうだ、テコさん。エリミネートコードって。
I suddenly remember and ask him on a whim. After all, the angels asked me to investigate it.
なんとしてでもエリミネートコードのありかを。
どこでその名前を。いや、知っていて当然だった。しかしその話ぶりだとエリミネートコードの名前は。
はい、そう。
気 記憶喪失というのは、エリミネートコードは分かりやすい言葉で言えば封印された神の力、全てを消し去る力だ。
全てを消し去る力。
もしも敵対勢力に奪われたりしたら、この国は間違いなく
Mikotoru also said that the code had world-ending potential.
つまりヤタと同じレベルの重要。
ある意味ではそれ以上。そしてエリミネートコードのありかは教祖だけが知って。3日前、犬神さんに中央教祖の死体と対面した僕はすぐさまそれらしきものは見つからなかった。
そのコードは物理的な。
いや、エリミネートコードは物理的な情報記録媒体に入っている。以前教祖はこう言っていたよ。
エリミネートコードは肌身離さず持ち
This
歩
is
く
the,
よう
the,
にしてい
the,
る
the
んだ。
Dolch,
こ
maybe.
の国で一番強い私が物理的に守っていればコードを奪われる心配はないからね。
だが教祖は無残に殺されて、コードは姿を消してしまった。これは仮説に過ぎないが、エリミネートコードは教祖の胴体にそう考えると、教祖の胴。
つまり犯人はエリミネートコードの。
それどころか、エリミネートコードを奪うために教祖を殺。エリミネートコードの行方について現時点で僕が言えるのはこれくらいだ。
世界を滅ぼす力を持ったコードが行方不明。
その点は問題ない。エリミネートコードはそれ単体では用をなさないらしいんだ。本部にある開かずの間に入り込まれさえしなければ。
それ本当に大丈夫なんですか？
Even I managed to get in.
割とザルだった気がしますけど。
ああ、だからセキュリティをたとえ相手がどこか。
Any tidbit of what the founder said?
そうだ、テコさん。例の
ああ、ほら。
Asked Tico for information about the founder's head. Tico complied and brought a 3D scanned image. I started to inspect it. The more I look, the more I see myself in it. This person is indeed me. I definitely died, and yet...
教祖って本当にボーイッシュな風貌をしてたんですね。教祖が女だと知ってるのってもしかして。
ああ、僕以外は誰一人として知らない。おそらくほとんどの民は教祖を男だと思い込んでいる。教祖は案外秘密主義者なところがあってね。一度秘密にすると決めたことは徹底的に。
So Tico Eon's the only one who knows the founder's secret. They really were that close. Biography of Tico Eon. Motive and alibi at the time. Elimination code, that of the founder. I've looked over the situation, gathered evidence, but I still can't connect the dots. How do I find the truth with this? Can I really solidify Tico Eon as the...
しもべ、上を向いてみろ。
I look at the sky full of twinkling stars.
僕らのちょうど真上のあたりにひときわ強く輝く星があるだろう。あの星、一等星、空だ。
空君の名前。
世界を救ってくれたあいつへの、これは正式名称だから、あいつの名前は永久に残り続ける。
Tico Eon gives an uncharacteristic laugh.
あいつは持ち前の運転テクでこんな恩赦を勝ち取った囚人はまったく成り上がりにも程がある。
空君。
Despite being in the middle of an interrogation, I couldn't hold back my tears. This is too big of a surprise. Ku, who ran around underground for redemption, is now way high up.
ありがとうございます、テコさん。空君を天に昇らせてくれ。
いいんだ、こんなの大した手間じゃん。あの空はある程度は僕の裁量で模様替えができるからね。
星を増やせる？
Tico Eon may be a genius, but rewriting the universe is something else. Surely he must be joking. Then... Tico Eon snaps his fingers. The stars brighten in response. That can't be coincidental. Tico Eon can really add stars?
まあ要するにこういうことだ。
Tag5 made an image appear from his terminal. Depicts this very city. It says SHUTEN. Der Hund will rein. Komm. Da draußen, egal. Deppert, ey. The city is covered by a huge roof, like an umbrella shielding it. But this metaphor is clearly contradictory. The sky hangs above the country, but there's no roof over us. Shuten is not exactly outside. Sind wir unter der Erde? Okay, dome. His country is covered by a dome. It's hard to believe at first, but I've just seen the evidence. Transformable starry skies.
僕らにはあまりに敵が多すぎたんだ。地球の環境は最悪で、神の軍勢に四方を囲まれていたからね。
God's army.
神を拒むために、僕たちは閉じこもることにしたんだ。ドームの中に。ドームの外側には最強のバリアが張り巡らされている。このバリアが健在である限り、いかなる滅びも汚染された環境はもちろん、そしてこのドームを制御しているのが
ヤタという
ご名答。僕があれほど焦っていたわけがわかる。ヤタが止まればこの国は蹂躙されてしまうんだ。
Sworn enemy. When talking about God, Tag5 sounds a bit intense, as if he hated God from the bottom of his heart. The SHUTEN Order hated and rejected God. Come to think of it, I think Mikotoru said something like that.
これも終天教という宗教の特殊性でね、彼らが信仰しているの、むしろ彼らは神を。
There's no doubt now that the SHUTEN Order hates God, but then how can I, the founder, use the power of God? God and I are supposed to be at odds. Speaking of the power of God, Seren Ezaki also said something.
神の力、大層なものいいね。単なるハッキングでしょ。
The power of God, hacking. It's hard to believe, but Seren Ezaki deflected the power of God. The power of God really is just hacking. Then what is God? Wait, what?
まず神の試練とは終天教儀式を終えることで君は真によみがえる。その儀式の内容というのは
Strange, if the SHUTEN Order is against God, then why would a ritual like God's Trial exist within it? Was I lied to? Maybe God's Trial isn't really a SHUTEN ritual. Maybe it's a heretic ritual? Questions keep sprouting up. I open my mouth to ask them. In utter shock, my mouth stayed open. I couldn't believe my eyes. Tag5 really was. Crying. Tag5 quietly sheds tears and looks to the sky. He just quietly stares at the stars. No, more than the stars. The many lives lost in this battle. Praying for their souls. A single tear drops from his cheek, like a shooting star. I couldn't think of anything else now. Oh no, I can't do this. Despite his cold demeanor, Tag5 really cares about others. There's no way he's the killer. The interrogation is over. Objectively, there's a possibility that Tag5 is the culprit. But I cannot pursue him any further. Personal feelings aside, I don't have enough information to dig deeper. I can still continue investigating the founder's murder, however. In this case... I'm grasping at straws now. If I can't investigate Tag5 any further, then I must hurry to the other ministers.
そうだな。これは印象論でしかないが、僕は国士官ほのかが怪しいと思ってる。
Honoka Kokushkan, the Minister of Education.
あいつの腹の内は読めないが、野心を隠そうともしないんだ。あいつが教祖の座を狙っていることはもはや公然の秘密と言っていい。異教徒から送り込まれたスパイ
Oh
だという
wait, the other ministers were suspecting her too.
どうせ空いた教祖の席を狙ってんだろ。腹ん中真っ黒の。
それに国士官はなぜか教祖の死の真相を明らかにすることをひどく、事件の捜査が進んでいないのはそのせいもある。
Even more suspicious. She's trying to hide the truth. Isn't this a done deal now?
テコさん、取り調べに応じてくださってありがとうございました。
I bow deeply and thank Tekuion.
本当はちゃんとお礼をしたいところで探偵としての仕事が残っているので、それじゃあまたいつかお元気で。
I turn and start running. My goal is the Minister of Education, Honoka Kokuchikan.
待て、しもべれ。
Tekuion quickly stands in front of me.
今夜くらいは休めないのか。あられが君に会いたがっているんだ。パーティーをやりたいらしい。君と
あられちゃんに会いたい夜明けまでに事件に決着をつけないと。
My temporary body will disintegrate. I will surely die this time.
そうか。どうしても行くというなら君に伝言を託してもいいか。
伝言？
ああ、僕の友達に会ったら
Tekuion says his message with a mysterious expression.
友へ、君も知っての通り宗教国家の幹部なんて職についてはいるが、正直な話、終点教の教義なんてどうだっていいと思ってる。そうだから、もしも君がよからぬ力を用いて蘇り教団すべてを敵に回したとしても、
Tekuion looks into my eyes.
僕だけは必ず君の味方をする。友情に誓って、そう伝えてほしい。
I barely holding back my tears. He must know who I am. He's not pursuing it, not telling anyone, just quietly encouraging me, thinking more about his friends than the country, above all else. I'm happy for this friendship.
伝えます。絶対に。きっとその友達も喜ぶと。
あ、頼む。
I notice we are holding hands, like a friendship being re-knotted, squeezing, and then we let go.
それじゃあ行ってきます。
I run as fast as I can, through the forest without looking back. If I do, I'd never be able to move on. I don't know where Honoka Kokuchikan is. Even if the chances are slim, I will check the Ministry of Education facilities. I'll never give up. I'll find my killer and come back to life. The angels were running in front of me. I'm glad to have the angels by my side. If I follow them, I will reach Honoka. I begin the interrogation as soon as I see Honoka. I don't care if I draw suspicion. If push comes to shove, I'll use the power of God to make them talk. I ponder a bit while running behind the angels. Should I ask them about who they are and why God is helping his enemy, the founder of the SHUTEN order? Like, is God's trial really a ritual for reviving me? Honestly, can I really trust them? The power of God determined that Tekuion was the culprit. The angel said the power of God is never wrong, but my intuition says Tekuion is not the murderer. Is my intuition wrong? Or did the power of God lie? What is the power of God anyway?
神の力、単なるハッキングでしょ。
Himiru, Mikotoru, God, the power of God, what are they? But I couldn't say it. I was too scared to find out. It seems like the existence of Rei Shimobe would fundamentally overturn everything. I'll find out later. First I need to revive. I will solve the founder's murder and come back. For the sake of everyone who perished today. I run through the forest, chasing after the angels. Finally, we reach the city. But of course, there are no cabs at this hour.
どうやって移動しましょう。ヒメルさん？
レイちゃんはもう走らなくていいんだよ。
え？それってどういう？
レイはもう十分に頑張ったという。
姫たちもね、辛いんだよ。
レイ、ここまで君を連れてきた。
温情？二人ともさっきか。
レイちゃん、ここね、大月クーが生まれ育った場所なんだって。
クー君がここで？
ここならレイちゃんも寂しくないと思って。
苦労して探したんだ、終わりの場所を。
I finally understand. They mean my time's up? Thinking about it, I should have expected it. Find the one who murdered the founder by dawn? That's not possible. But still. If it was just my life, then whatever. But this life, it's not just mine. Who gave this to me? The sound of a fire being lit. I'm engulfed in flames. I can't even scream, my throat is burning. I try to reach out, but the flames pull me back. Those are the last words I hear. I soon stop feeling the heat as well. All my senses vanish. The remnants of my mind will soon disappear, but it is not over. I still have my resolve. I can't waste Ku's soul, which I took in. So, no matter how many times I die, I will surely rise again. Eieiei. Dang, die Route war echt fucking lang. Ich würde sagen, machen noch bis zur Auswahl zur nächsten Route. Und dann war es das für heute. Pim-pom, pim-pom. Und die nächste Route ist dann Dating Sim. Ich kann ihn nicht speichern, ja, dann gehen wir hier schon mal rein. And so fall in love, a passionate love that will drive her mad, but then a fate will encounter the Tonoka to partake in a crazed game. In order to get her to confess, you must first make her wish come true. Romantic adventure. Yes. Okay, dann war's das. Dann geht's ja beim nächsten Mal wieder. Tschüss, tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss.